Welcome to this week's edition of Coach Prep. Coach Don and I are here in the Cherokee Batting Range podcast studio getting ready to record episode number 85. Got a really interesting discussion for you today. We're going to talk about emotions and how emotional might be too emotional for players to perform at their best. But before we do that, let's talk about the Anderson Bat Company. Everything Fastpitch is very proud to have Anderson Bat Company as our presenting sponsor. Anderson Bat Company is using the latest and greatest bat technology to corner the market in the Fastpitch world. They have the -9 Rocket Tech, the -10 Carbon, and the -11 Carbon Light. Anderson Bat Company is using this technology to put a high-performing bat in the hands of hitters that really know the difference between a good bat and a great bat. We're also working with Anderson to provide a discount for all of our listeners. Go to the Anderson Bat Company website and order your bats. Use the EFP20 discount, which is for everything Fastpitch, and you'll get a 20% discount. It's a great way for you to save a little bit of money on a great bat and also help support everything Fastpitch at the same time. And let's talk about patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. We're very fortunate. We have some patrons that have been supporting us and doing a great job of helping Coach Don and I with the podcast business here for a couple of years. We're looking for more people to come on board and help support us. Patreon.com/everythingfastpitch is a way for you to support us financially. There's 3 different levels of support. If you're in a position where you can help us out, Coach Don and I would really appreciate it. There's expenses and things that go into producing the podcast. I promise we are not getting rich in the podcast business.
And Tori, we can tell them the Patreon program, it's just a matter of pledging $5 a month.
Right, and every little bit helps. There's 3 different levels. It's 5, 10, or 20, and then there's different levels of reward that go along with each level of support. The bottom line is we want to keep doing Coach Prep, keep doing everything Fastpitch, and the thing that's keeping the wheels rolling on this bus right now are our patrons, and so we truly do appreciate the patrons that we have, but we would love to have some more people come on board. So if you enjoy what we're doing, you enjoy listening to the Everything Fastpitch and Coach Prep podcast, please consider becoming a patron. Go to patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. So Don, emotions.
Yeah, no, we've got those for sure out there, good and bad.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've noticed this year, I've had a chance to watch quite a few college softball games between ESPN Plus and the different networks. And one of the things that I've noticed is that I'm seeing a real difference in how certain teams approach and how certain teams appear to approach the mental game and their emotional level of investment or how emotional they are as they play the game. Seeing everything from the cool, calm, collected, business as usual types of teams where player hits a home run and there's a certain level of enthusiasm, but it's very much like a been there, done that.
Calm, cool, and collected.
Right, no big deal kind of attitude. And then many other teams where every time a pitcher throws a strike or every time a hitter gets a hit, you would think that it's the meter
spikes.
Yeah, the walk-off win in the bottom of the 7th inning of the championship game. And somewhere in the medium area is, I think, what most teams should be shooting for. But unfortunately, I think that one of the misunderstandings that I think a lot of people have is that somehow being super fired up, being super emotional is a key to being successful. And I think our game is one that, while emotion and enthusiasm is always going to be part of it, I do think there's a point of no return where players get so fired up, get so emotional, that it's difficult for them to perform as well as they might if they could find more of that mid-level, medium-level arousal as they're getting ready to play.
Tori, I think you're exactly right. And again, that to me like a roller coaster. I mean, when you go way up when something good's going on, that also means likely you're kind of going way down when things are tough.
Right.
And, we definitely don't want to be that. And even as we talk about it, it gives me that feeling of being drained, because it's so much up and so much down that, I'd way prefer that calm, cool, collected, intense, but under control. And we want to, be excited about the good things that are happening, but there's more business yet to take care of, right?
Right. When I think your roller coaster analogy is a good one. I've used the roller coaster in discussions with teams this year. When we go to a amusement park, if you go to Disney World or you go to Six Flags or whatever, you stand in line for an hour and a half, 2 hours to ride a roller coaster that's going to last 90 seconds, maybe
right.
2 minutes. But the reason that we all love the roller coasters is because while they're really fun, they're scary too at the same time. Part of the reason that the adrenaline gets so pumped up, when you go over the edge and you take that first big drop, even though you're on a safe ride at Disney World, there's part of your brain that shifts gears and goes, oh my God, I could die right now.
Right.
The thing about the roller coaster that I think kind of ties into our discussion about emotions and how we play the game, being really emotional is really fun, but it's also really scary because,
Sure.
as you said earlier, there's going to inevitably be that fall off. If we're trying to be, amped up, Energizer Bunny is at the really highest level for a very long time. Sooner or later, that falls off a little bit, it peaks, and then we've got that rebound where we're going to probably fall down into the valley of the roller coaster where we're waiting to see if we come back up or not.
No, and eventually we are going to be in a competitive game when we're not up.
Right.
We're not winning, and we don't want to be, on a low at that point, right?
Right. Well, and when we think about some of the more technical skills involved in our game, being too emotional, I think, could be a real detriment. We see it all the time now when we watch high-level hitters, that as they're approaching an at-bat, when they're stepping into the batter's box, they're doing everything they can to calm their nerves and to calm themselves down, to take deep breaths, to focus mentally so they can be zeroed in and ready to perform their task. We see the same thing from pitchers, where they, walk to the edge of the circle, they take their breath, they focus in on the next pitch. You can see them, zeroing in, showing, as little or no emotion as possible. And to me, I think that's where the challenge is, because I don't know how players at any level, but certainly, a lot of the players that we're talking about, younger players, that don't have that much experience or that much maturity, how they're supposed to be able to manage that balancing act between, okay, now for the next 2 seconds, I'm going to be totally focused. But 2 minutes ago, I was jumping up and down and screaming and yelling, and
I'm ready to jump out of my skin.
Right,
I'm so excited. Yeah,
and so to me, I think that's one of the things that we want to talk about. And I think when we look around the field, each position has different skills and different levels of focus that you need to have. All players have to have the ability to be in control and under control for stretches of the game. And I think that helping players and coaches think about, what kind of balance we really need to have the success that we want to have on the field. One of the things I see a lot with the younger teams is that they equate, screaming and cheering and yelling for being ready to play.
Right.
And
in it.
Yeah, and if I had a nickel for every time I heard a player who was frustrated or angry with their team's performance, come into the dugout and everybody in this dugout better be cheering now.
Right.
Everybody in this dugout better be behind the hitter.
To show me you're in it.
Yeah, somehow get back into the game by being enthusiastic. And again, I don't want to send a mixed message. I don't think that player should be in the dugout moping and unhappy and ready to break down because things didn't go well. But I also think it's a faulty thinking to think that just by being amped up and excited and all those kinds of things, that it's going to lead to playing better.
Well, and again, we talk about trying to create a consistent environment for us as a hitter. And part of that is that calm, not too excited and just very consistent in our approach to our at-bats. We kind of have to do that all the way through.
Right.
And, when there is an exciting environment, meaning we're one run down or maybe it's a tie ball game late in the game and we've got some runners in scoring position. I mean, that's pretty exciting. That's what we're playing for. So it's really challenging and tough to not over rev the engine and get a little overexcited, but that's kind of a practiced thing and an experience thing. If you've been there, done that, and you can, I guess, be successful at getting into that same comfortable environment, I think our chances of performing well is going to be a lot better. So I like that we're talking about it. That's good.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think for our coaching friends it's worth investing in is spending some time, working on the mental game skills, helping our players see the value of, again, there's a balancing act. You have to be aroused, you have to be ready, but we have to be able to control that level so that it's something that we can manage and put to good use. And it's sort of like the idea of the engine, in your car. If you stand on the gas, you're going to go a lot faster. You're going to hear that engine rev, but how long can you keep your foot on the floor before the engine blows up?
Right.
And I think for softball players, sometimes that we keep our foot on the floor until the engine blows up, and then all of a sudden,
or we run out of gas.
Yeah, we're stuck on the side of the road with no way to get going again. And so I think for coaches to spend some time helping our players understand that yes, we want them to be enthusiastic, but we need them to find a balance. We want them to be passionate, but we don't want to cross that line of control.
I've always liked that statement: be intense but under control.
Yeah.
You want, yeah. No, I was going to say you need both, and if you talk about it and how that can actually be something that we can attain, can we be both?
Yeah.
You can be intense and under control, or find a few little click words like that you can remind your team as things are getting heightened, or even as we're having a challenging time.
Right.
It's like stay intense, but we're under control.
Right. And I think there's the mental game training, working on routines and visualization and all that stuff is something that we've talked about a few times. It has tremendous value. But I think where it's really helpful is giving players confidence that they can then help themselves. One of the things I see all the time, and I'm sure you do too, especially with younger hitters, that what we work on with them in lessons or what they're working on in practice doesn't always show up on game day.
Sure.
Because on game day they are so amped up. They are so
it's a different environment.
Yeah, the adrenaline is rushing, the nerves are going, and I think that's a perfect situation where it can help a player see that what you can do in the quote unquote no pressure environment of a lesson or the no pressure environment of practice can then be carried over. That you can find that balance between how amped up do you need to be excited about playing, but not driving with the foot on the floor and the engine ready to explode.
Tori, what do you think about this too? When you're a batter coming up to the plate and your third base batter's coach or first base coach is kind of bouncing up and down because they're so excited that you kind of wake up and your adrenaline goes higher, or if they recognize that you're a little overexcited or the situation is really heightened, that they can kind of calm things down by their body language.
Yeah,
that might be something too for us to be watching.
Yeah, because I think that as coaches, we're going to obviously have a huge impact on the
up or down
the atmosphere around the team, and I think it's important that we understand our role in it, but that we also invest some time and energy in helping the players have a much better understanding about how all these things are going to impact ultimately how we play. And again, I just have this picture in my mind of a kid in the dugout. Let's say they're the third hitter this inning, so they're in the hole, and they're in the dugout and they're screaming and yelling and stomping around and beating on buckets and all that stuff. And their heart rate's at 200 and their blood pressure's at 2 million. And then all of a sudden they step out in the on deck circle, and now they're supposed to be
now it's their turn.
Yeah, back in control enough to go up and get ready to hit and recognize a pitch and take a good swing. When 30 seconds ago they were the over the top super cheer person.
And what's funny, Tori, as you're saying that too, I'm thinking back to coaching college days, but even those environments when everybody's hammering and pounding and excited for that moment, looking down to see who's about to come up to bat. I can remember times seeing, and this wasn't something we necessarily even coached. I didn't do it on purpose or anything, but you'd look down and the ones that were about to get up on deck were trying to visualize or be calm, or they weren't necessarily the ones that were hammering and pounding.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that's the reason why this was so important to talk about today, because I don't think I see it, it's for sure with the younger players that I get a chance to spend a lot of time with. I don't see them having the ability to flip that switch to go from the raving, screaming lunatic in the dugout 1 second to being the calm, cool, collected hitter or pitcher the next.
No, I know, yeah.
And I think that, so for us as coaches, we need to model that kind of balance and business-like approach. It's okay for us to be enthusiastic and cheer and pull for the kids, but I think we need to model for them the business-like approach of being excited and happy but still in control. I think we need to talk to them about differences between those two
so
mindsets.
They're aware, right?
Yeah. Because I think that there's things that you can do in practice or in training, to let them see how challenging it is. So maybe you set up a drill in practice where right before you go up to the plate, a kid has to do 2 minutes of raucous, crazy cheering, so that we'll have these 8 kids are going to hit in the next group, and for the 2 minutes before they go up to the plate, We have them doing nothing but jumping around, screaming, cheering, yelling like it's, the seventh inning of the most intense game ever. And then
Now it's your turn.
and then just pick one randomly out of there and say, okay, now you have to hit. So when they're up there and their heart's still racing and their mind is still bouncing around and stuff like that, just to start to give them a feel for, recognizing for themselves that line that, that maybe they cross occasionally.
I like it.
And again, there's ways that we can do those kinds of things to help our players see the value of being in control. Again, I don't want to take away the fun. I don't want to take away the enthusiasm, but I want us to be enthusiastic and in control. I want us to be excited and amped up, but to the point that it helps us perform better, not to the level that it drags our performance down. And we're not going to get into the whole sports psychology aspect of it today to save a little bit of time, but there's plenty of things that you can read. Brian Kane and Harvey Dorfman and Ken Ravizza have all written great books about baseball, softball, and how the way that the brain and the body work together. They all have a chapter that shows the bell curve of emotional and physical connection, and how you keep going up, you keep going up, you keep going up, you hit the top of the roller coaster,
eventually,
and then you come plummeting down.
What goes up's got to come down, right?
And that's true of our emotional preparation and our emotional level as we play the game. And we all know that this is a game where enthusiasm is crucial, but out of control doesn't lead to very good softball.
Tori, I really like the idea of, like you said, having the amped up cheer and just picking one and saying, okay, now it's your turn to go up to bat. What are you thinking?
Right.
And they would be, kind of exhausted, but everybody would then be a lot more aware of that up and down emotional or energized feeling. And, for them to understand that, hey, it's good to be cheering, but then there's a time for you to start prepping.
Right.
And they do in a game know when their time is. So they, if they just finished an at bat, or if we just came in and they were last at bat last inning, they're the ones that are allowed to be a little bit more involved in that excitement.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. I love it.
Well, coaches, there's something for you to think about. We want them to be excited, but we don't want them to be too excited. We want them to have fun, but we really want them to be satisfied with the fact that they played really good softball.
Yeah.
And if they're satisfied that they played really good softball, they're going to remember the day as being fun, whether they were jumping up and down and running around like crazy lunatics in the dugout or not. So hopefully you can put that to use. So a couple of quick notes. Please check out fastpitchprep.com. You can order your Square Cuts training discs there. They are flying off the shelves. You go to the fastpitchprep.com website, hit the order button, and we'll get them shipped out to you right away.
Don't be the last one to get them.
They are a really good tool. We're very excited about it, and there's tons of other information if you go to the fastpitchprep.com website, the blogs, the YouTube channel, and tons of other stuff for you to take advantage of. So, Don, anything else for 85?
No, just ready for another great week, Tori.
So all of you that listen, thank you very much. Spread the word. Get your friends to listen. For Coach Don McKinley and our producer, Stan Lewis, this is Coach Tori in the Cherokee Batting Range Podcast Studio saying thanks for listening to episode number 85.